one of my favorite smoke jumping stories would have been back in 1983, 1984. We got a call to jump a fire on the Clearwater National Forest. I think it was Cold Cabin Creek. I can't recall the name. But it was a rotten jump spot. Missoula, I was jumping out of Grangeville, Idaho at the time. Missoula flew the fire. They got the first call. They turned it down. Said it's too late in the day. There's no good jump spot. We're not going to jump it. So dispatch called Grangeville because at that era, we never turned down a jump. We flew it. We jumped it. It was a terrible jump spot. And if anybody would have gotten hurt, it would have been rough. They never would have got out. Not that day. We all made it to the ground. We fought the fire throughout the night. Early the next morning, Missoula flew it. They jumped it. So we probably had about 20 people on the fire. We got it pretty much wrapped up, contained by that third day. And still had more to do, still had the mop up to do, but we had it lined and contained by the third day. And one of my favorite smoke jumping memories is first light we hear the DC-3 flying overhead. And it's our third day, so we get a fresh food drop. DC-3 flies over, they kick out fresh food, and we opened up the boxes, and my memory is frying a steak on a shovel in the fire. You always keep a little bit of the fire going so that you can heat up water for coffee. You never use your shovel, or you always keep a couple shovels clean, because when you get fresh food, a shovel is really just a long-handled frying pan. So I remember cooking my steak on the shovel, reading the Sunday Missoulian, and at that time, even though we weren't supposed to, we dropped beer. So it's Sunday morning, I'm reading the Sunday newspaper, cooking a steak on my shovel, drinking a beer, and looking out into the Selway Bitterroot Wilderness Area. Thinking, God, it just doesn't get any better than this. It was wonderful. I told the story some years later during the Forest Service Centennial. It was for the Smithsonian magazine, or Smithsonian Institution. And they wanted to record our histories for the Smithsonian archives. And I thought, great, I can tell the story of back in the days when we used to jump with beer and we would do crazy things. And, well, they didn't put it in the archives. They gave it to, I think it's Duke University is the keeper of that. And the chief read it and raked me over the coals for talking about things we shouldn't talk about. But we did. It was fun. I mean, it's part of our history. My dentist is an old smoke jumper, and he used to talk about, in the old days, bars in Missoula would often have signs in the windows saying no smoke jumpers allowed. So it's a wild, crazy history, but it goes back to that camaraderie, that family, those wild and crazy things that we did in our youth. And in the old days, we got away with it. We would get in trouble, but we got the job done. Can't really do that anymore. But the jumpers are still that pinnacle of the spear. They just operate differently than my era, and my era certainly operated differently than those that came before me in the 60s and in the 50s and 40s. Those were the true pioneers of not just aviation and parachuting, but of fire. That's kind of where we all really cut our teeth. And that has brought the agency and its firefighting to where we are today. It is through those stupid things that we did, or those dangerous things that we did, where we were those who were unfortunate enough to not get away with those stupid and crazy things, that we have learned lessons now, that our firefighters are better trained and follow those safety protocols, so that hopefully they avoid those injuries and tragic situations.